Hello everyone, this is Asif Ejaz Sheikh and welcome to the third lecture of our subject Basics of Civil and Mechanical Engineering. So before starting with the subject, let us revise the key highlights of our second lecture. So these are the important points which we have discussed in our second lecture. First was importance of interdisciplinary approach. Second was current budget of infrastructure for the year 2021. Third was possible scope of a career as a civil engineer. And fourth and last was work of eminent civil engineer, in which we have discussed the work of engineers E. Sridharan. So let us have an overview of all these 4 points. The first point was the importance of interdisciplinary approach. In this we have concluded that there is a need for civil engineer to interact with the following people and plan the civil engineering infrastructure facilities. Who are those people? First are architect and town planners. Second is electrical engineer. Third is electronic engineer, mechanical engineer, doctors, educationalist. So हमें हर एक फील्ड के लोगों के साथ इंटरेक्शन करना है, so that there is no complaint from any corner of the society. So this line is very important. Civil engineers should understand the importance of interdisciplinary approach in their planning and construction activities, so that there is no complaint from any other corner of the society. अब इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी अप्रोच को समझने के लिए आप सेकेंड लेक्चर को देख सकते हैं. So our second point was, after interdisciplinary approach we have discussed the highlights of our current budget, that is of year 2021. इसमें भी हम लोगों ने वही पॉइंट डिस्कस किए थे जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर से रिलेटेड है, क्योंकि हमारे सिलेबस में सिर्फ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के बारे में दिया हुआ है. ठीक है, उसमें फर्स्ट पॉइंट था हमारा व्हीकल स्क्रैपिंग पॉलिसी. सो दिस ईयर गवर्नमेंट हैव इंट्रोड्यूस्ड द व्हीकल स्क्रैपिंग पॉलिसी टू बूस्ट अप अवर ऑटो सेक्टर. क्या होगा? व्हाट इज व्हीकल स्क्रैपिंग पॉलिसी? इट इज नथिंग बट टू पॉलिसी टू फेज आउट ओल्ड एंड अनफिट व्हीकल्स. राइट, क्यों कर रहे हैं ये? टेकिंग ओल्ड एंड पोल्यूटिंग व्हीकल्स ऑफ रोड्स कैन हेल्प द एनवायरमेंट. एनवायरमेंटल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से भी हम लोग इस स्क्रैपिंग पॉलिसी को अपनाएंगे. सेकेंड एंड मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट, टू बूस्ट अवर ऑटो सेक्टर. So after discussing the vehicle scrapping policy, we have discussed the next point in the budget, that was National Rail Plan. It is created to bring future ready railway system by the year 2030. So these are some of the key issues of National Rail Plan. Basically it is issued so that we can have a better advancement in the railway system by the year 2030. Okay. उसके बाद हमारा नेक्स्ट हाईलाइट था हाईवे एंड रोड वर्क्स आर अनाउंस्ड इन केरला, तमिलनाडु, वेस्ट बंगाल एंड आसाम. सो इन चारों स्टेट्स में हाईवे एंड रोड वर्क्स का अनाउंसमेंट किया गया था. नेक्स्ट वाज 100% इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन ऑफ रेलवेज टू बी कंप्लीटेड बाय 2023. इन द नेक्स्ट कमिंग ईयर्स देयर विल बी 100% इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन ऑफ रेलवेज. नेक्स्ट वाज metro services announced in 27 cities, plus additional allocation for various cities, that is Kochi, Chennai, Bengaluru, Nasik and Nagpur. Next point was National Hydrogen Mission to be launched to generate hydrogen from green power source. Okay. Recycling capacity of ports to be doubled by 2024. And last was gas pipeline project to be set up in Jammu and Kashmir. So उसके बाद हमारा जो टॉपिक था वो था possible scope of a career as a civil engineer. So there are various job opportunities we have discussed not only government job but also private jobs. And as a civil engineer, you can also be a entrepreneur and start your own company. Last point we have discussed in the second lecture was the work of eminent civil engineer named E. Sridharan. He is also called the Metro Man of India. He was responsible for the advancement of metro in our country. So पहला पॉइंट इसमें डिस्कस किया था हमने कोंकण रेलवेज, नेक्स्ट वॉज दिल्ली मेट्रो एंड लास्ट कोची मेट्रो रेल. So this was all about the second lecture. Now let's move to the third lecture. Before starting the third lecture, let us revise the syllabus. So syllabus में हम लोगों ने अभी तक रोल ऑफ सिविल इंजीनियरिंग कवर कर चुके हैं, करंट बजट कवर कर चुके हैं. आज जो थर्ड लेक्चर हम लोग पढ़ने वाले हैं वो है अर्ली कंस्ट्रक्शन एंड डेवलपमेंट ओवर टाइम. इस पॉइंट को हम लोग डिस्कस करेंगे. आज एक ही पॉइंट डिस्कस करेंगे क्योंकि ये थोड़ा हिस्ट्री से रिलेटेड है. एंशियंट टाइम से लेकर मॉडर्न पीरियड में कौन कौन से एडवांसमेंट हुए हैं सिविल इंजीनियरिंग से रिलेटेड हम लोग आज इसको डिस्कस करने वाले. ओके, सो लेट्स स्टार्ट आवर थर्ड लेक्चर. These are the points which we are going to discuss in our lecture. Early construction, development of construction over years, development of various material of construction, and development of various method of construction. So basically we are going to study the history of civil engineering and its advancement over the years. So let's start with our lecture. First point is early construction. Construction is an ancient human activity. It began with purely functional need for a controlled environment to moderate the effect of climate. क्या लिखा है यहाँ पर? सेकेंड लाइन में क्या लिखा है? The only primary function of the construction was to safeguard the human life from the adverse effect of climate. So let's go to the very early stage. Back then human beings used to move from one place to another in search of food, right? So they require some sort of shelter to protect themselves. So they adapted cave shelters. Humans adapted cave shelters. Also, to cross a river, they may probably use the wooden logs or tree trunks so that they can cross the rivers. This example gives us a hint of early age or early stage of a civil engineering. So the requirement of the earliest time was to protect one from harsh environment, right? And other stuff like to cross rivers. So requirement के हिसाब से ह्यूमंस ने अडेप्ट क्या किया? दे अडेप्टेड केव शेल्टर्स एंड दे यूज्ड ट्री ट्रंक्स. सो ह्यूमन बीइंग की रिक्वायरमेंट चेंज कैसे हुई? लाइक टू फॉर्म अ विलेज और सेटलिंग ऑन द बैंक ऑफ रिवर. अब स्टोन एज के टाइम तो हमारे पास कोई टूल्स या मशीन्स नहीं थी, तो टूल्स कैसे डेवलप हुई, मटेरियल कैसे डेवलप हुए, हम लोगों ने मेथड कैसे डेवलप किए, और कंस्ट्रक्शन एज अ होल या सिविल इंजीनियरिंग एज अ होल कैसे डेवलप हुआ, ये चीज़ हम लोग आज इस लेक्चर में डिस्कस करेंगे. हिस्ट्री ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्शन, ये टॉपिक को हम लोगों ने डिवाइड किया है 6 पीरियड में. फर्स्ट है न्यूलिथिक कंस्ट्रक्शन, सेकेंड है कॉपर एज एंड ब्रॉन्ज एज कंस्ट्रक्शन, थर्ड है आयरन एज कंस्ट्रक्शन, फोर्थ इज मिडिवल कंस्ट्रक्शन, फिफ्थ कंस्ट्रक्शन इन 17th एंड 18th सेंचुरी, सिक्स्थ लास्ट जो है वो कंस्ट्रक्शन इन मॉडर्न टाइम्स और कंस्ट्रक्शन इन रिसेंट ईयर्स. अब थर्ड पॉइंट जो आयरन एज कंस्ट्रक्शन है उसको हम लोगों ने तीन सब डिविजन किए: कंस्ट्रक्शन इन एंशियंट मेसोपोटामिया, कंस्ट्रक्शन इन एंशियंट इजिप्ट एंड रोमन कंस्ट्रक्शन। सो हम लोग अर्लीस्ट पीरियड से मूव करके आएंगे रिसेंट टाइम्स में और देखेंगे कि कंस्ट्रक्शन का डेवलपमेंट किस तरह से हुआ है। ओके, पहला पॉइंट है हमारा नियोलिथिक कंस्ट्रक्शन। So the first topic in the history of construction is Neolithic construction. Neo means new, lithic means stone. So Neolithic means new stone age. Neolithic also known as new, यहाँ old लिख दिया है, actually ये Neolithic is a new stone age. Was a time period roughly from 9000 BC to 5000 BC. Now in this time period still human used to hunt the animals. Now the remains of the animals were used as a building material. For example, the bones of the huge animals were used as a building material to construct the pit house. Also, here you can see the example. The bones of animal are used. This is a reconstruction of a pit house type dwelling. Actual model नहीं, actual pit house नहीं है, actually reconstruction बनाया गया है. You can see that bones of animal in such a way bones of animal were used to construct a pit house. Pit house क्या होता है? Pit house आप समझ लीजिए कि underground structure where you can find a shelter. Other building material used were stone, woods. Tools कौन कौन से यूज हो रहे थे उस टाइम? Stone axe with a wooden handle, bone hammer, chisel made of bone. So you can see the material used were those material which humans can find easily around the environment. जो easily available material है उन्हीं को यूज करके उन्होंने tools डेवलप किए और इन्हीं tools का यूज करके a basic structure was constructed. हम एग्जाम्पल देखते हैं. For example, the first bridge made by human were probably just wooden logs placed across a stream and later timber trackways. आज भी विलेजेस में अगर आप जाएंगे तो रिवर क्रॉस करने के लिए कई जगह वुडन लॉग्स या ट्री ट्रंक्स यूज किए जाते हैं सो दैट दे कैन क्रॉस द स्ट्रीम और रिवर. In addition to living in caves and rock shelters, the first building were simple shelters, tents and huts, sometimes built as pit house, meant to suit the basic needs of protection from elements and sometimes for safety. ये एक एग्जाम्पल है हाउस पिट हाउस के. एज यू कैन सी दिस इज एन अंडरग्राउंड स्ट्रक्चर्स. दिस वे यूज्ड एज अ शेल्टर इन दोज टाइम्स. और यहाँ एक एग्जाम्पल दिया हुआ है. दिस इज बेसिकली अ रिकंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ न्यूलिथिक विलेज. The reconstruction of this Neolithic village is situated in Germany. This was the very first construction done by human being. Building material used were stone, bones and woods. Still Neolithic villages can be found in Scotland. This is a very good example. Neolithic village in Scarabray, which is situated in Scotland. You can see the early development of village can be seen here, especially on the bank of rivers. So this was about the Neolithic construction. इसमें हम लोगों ने देखा कि earliest construction of human being using various building material. The next age was Copper Age. So next topic is Copper Age and Bronze Age construction. So now the building material changed to copper and bronze. Earlier during Neolithic construction, the building material were stone, bones, right? So now it replaces by copper and bronze. What is bronze? Bronze is made when tin is added to copper and. Now the tools developed using copper and bronze were axes, chisel, but these new tools were less brittle more durable and cuts better. Obviously जो टूल्स स्टोन से बने जाते थे ड्यूरिंग न्यूलिथिक कंस्ट्रक्शन, दे वे मोर ब्रिटल, आसानी से टूट जाते थे वो, एज कम्पेयर टू कॉपर एंड ब्रॉन्ज. कॉपर एंड ब्रॉन्ज टूल्स वेयर more durable and it also cuts better. So now अब क्योंकि ये कटिंग अच्छी तरीके से करेंगे तो काफ़ी सोफिस्टिकेटेड स्ट्रक्चर्स यहाँ से डेवलप होना स्टार्ट हुए. फॉर एग्जांपल कॉपर एंड ब्रॉन्ज टूल्स का यूज़ करके स्टोन कटिंग काफ़ी आसान हो गई. ह्यूज स्टोन्स को कट करना काफ़ी आसान हो गया. सो ड्यूरिंग द कॉपर एज एंड ब्रॉन्ज एज various arches were developed and stone cutting was the prime focus during this age. Now the copper age and bronze age lasted 5000 BC to 3000 BC. This is an example of a bronze saw and these are the various copper tools. So इस एज में हमारा मेथड ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्शन थोड़ा एडवांस हुआ एज कम्पेयर टू न्यूलिथिक कंस्ट्रक्शन. हेंस कंस्ट्रक्शन का टाइम थोड़ा स्पीड अप हो गया. इसके बाद हमारा नेक्स्ट कंस्ट्रक्शन है, नेक्स्ट पीरियड है आयरन एज कंस्ट्रक्शन. सो द आयरन एज कंस्ट्रक्शन. आयरन एज इज अ कल्चरल पीरियड रफली फ्रॉम 1200 BC to 50 BC. Now the main building material used here is iron. आयरन इन इटसेल्फ इज नॉट मच हार्डर देन कॉपर, बट जब हम आयरन में कॉपर कार्बन थोड़ा ऐड कर देते हैं तो इट गेट्स कन्वर्टेड इनटू स्टील. नाउ स्टील इज मच मोर हार्डर एंड इट कैन बी यूज्ड एज अ कटिंग एज और कैन यू प्रोड्यूस अ शार्प एज डिवाइस, राइट. अब का आयरन एज कंस्ट्रक्शन को स्टडी करने के लिए हम लोग 3 एग्जाम्पल लेंगे. फर्स्ट इज कंस्ट्रक्शन इन एंशिएंट मेसोपोटामिया. मेसोपोटामिया अगर मॉडर्न टाइम्स में बात करें तो मेसोपोटामिया का एरिया आएगा आपका मिडिल ईस्ट का, विच कवर्स इराक, ईरान, टर्की एंड सीरिया. तो हम लोग एंशिएंट मेसोपोटामिया का कंस्ट्रक्शन स्टडी करेंगे. देन वी विल स्टडी द कंस्ट्रक्शन इन एंशिएंट इजिप्ट एंड लास्टली रोमन कंस्ट्रक्शन. इसमें और भी कंस्ट्रक्शन हम लोग स्टडी कर सकते थे, फॉर एग्जांपल एंशिएंट चाइनीज कंस्ट्रक्शन, एंशिएंट ग्रीक कंस्ट्रक्शन, बट इस लेक्चर के लिए हम लोग ये 3 कंस्ट्रक्शन को स्टडी करेंगे. ओके कंस्ट्रक्शन इन एंशिएंट मेसोपोटामिया. एज आई सेड अर्लियर, मेसोपोटामिया मॉडर्न टाइम्स में कौन सा एरिया है? इराक, ईरान, सीरिया एंड टर्की. So the earliest large-scale building for which evidence survives have been found in ancient Mesopotamia. During this time, foundation start being constructed. Foundation क्या है? तो the concept of foundation इसी पीरियड में स्टार्ट हो गया था. Foundation means हम लोग जो पूरा बिल्डिंग का जो लोड है अल्टीमेटली हम लोग ट्रांसफर करेंगे टू द फाउंडेशन, right, and foundation will transfer it to the soil. So foundation के concept से क्या हुआ? Very sizable structures like palaces and temples were constructed. As the concept of foundation started in this period, construction of very large structure was possible. Also during this period there were some evidence of new technologies like drains for human sewage and paved street. Here you can see an example of a huge structure. This structure is built of bricks. Now the building material used during the ancient Mesopotamia was mud bricks, specially used which were molded in wooden blocks. By 3500 BC, the fire brick came in use. Glazed brick have been found from 13th century BC. Here an example of Stargate. Here you can see the glazed brickwork. Right. So this was about the construction in Mesopotamia period. So the next topic is construction in ancient Egypt. As opposed to the culture of ancient Mesopotamia, which built in bricks, the pharaohs of Egypt built huge structure in stone. So the building material in focus was stone. Huge stone were used for constructing the uh, structures. For example, you may have seen an example of pyramids. Pyramids are the huge structure made up of stones, huge stones. As we have seen in the early stages, the cutting of stones is quite easy up till now, as the tools for cutting it have developed vastly. Pyramids are chief impressive for their enormous size and staggering manpower that must have been employed in their construction. Right. So other building material used are sun-baked mud bricks. As Egypt has a hot and humid climate, the bricks here were sun-baked. Now the advantage of sun-baked brick over normal mud bricks are that sun-baked bricks are much more durable. Another material are stone, as we have discussed, massive masonry blocks. So here is an example. Here you can see massive stones have been cut down and it had laid one above others so that the structure can be constructed. This is a copy of wall painting showing the work of various craftsmen. This was about construction in ancient Egypt. So the last subtopic of Iron Age construction is Roman construction. Now a lot is known about the Roman building construction. A lot has been written about it, and various evidence are also present as compared to other cultures. Roman roads include paved roads, sometimes supported on raft and pile foundations, and bridges. So the various building material used during Roman construction were hydraulic lime mortar called Roman cement. The birth of cement can be seen here. Other material were bricks, stone, and wooden shuttering. So the most important is hydraulic lime mortar. So this is used to bind up various bricks and stones. The tools used during the Roman construction are the invention of water wheel, sawmill were by the Romans. Roman also began using glass for architectural purpose. Roman developed sophisticated timber cranes allowing them to lift considerable weight to great heights. Here we can clearly observe that there is an early advancement in the construction method of structure. For example, considerable weights can be lifted now to the greater heights using timber cranes. Right. Here we can see an example of hand plane. The hand plane are used to smoothen the wooden logs. This hand plane developed in the Iron Age was known to be used by Romans. So after discussing the three subtopics of Iron Age construction, we will now discuss the medieval construction. The Middle Ages of Europe span from 5th to 15th century AD. The main building material used during this period were bricks, timber, and lime mortars. However, the bricks used in this period are quite advanced as compared to earlier stages. Now, the design of the medieval construction. As we know, there were no standard textbook on building during the Middle Ages. Right? There were no IS codes, no study. Only the knowledge were transferred through one craftsman to the other, and or from father to son. Models were used for designing structures and could be built to large scale. For example, if you want to construct a large scale building, first their model were constructed or drawn, and depending on the model, the large building were built using scaling systems. This was about medieval construction. Now our next topic is construction in 17th and 18th century. The 17th century saw the birth of modern science, which would have profound effect on building construction in the centuries to come. In this topic, we will discuss both 17th and 18th century. The major breakthrough were towards the end of century when architects and engineers began to use experimental science to inform the form of their building. 17th century structures relied strongly on experience, the rules of thumb, and the use of scale model. As seen earlier during the medieval ages, 17th century structure also relied strongly on experience, rule of thumb, and the use of scale models. Scale models were also used during the medieval ages. Now the main building materials used were brick, timber, glass, and iron. However, there are some advancement in the tools. Cranes and scaffolding depended on the timber. Complex system of pulleys allowed comparatively large loads to be lifted, and long ramps were used to haul loads up to the upper parts of the building. Let us discuss this point. You may have seen various construction sites. Various pulleys and cranes are used to lift up loads. So these complex systems were developed during construction in the 17th century. Here you can see an image building trades in 17th century. This image depicts a similar scenario of today's construction site, the only difference being the advancement in the method and material of the constructions. Our next topic is construction in 18th century. Now the 18th century saw development of many ideas that had been born in the late 17th century. The architect and engineer became increasingly professionalized. The birth of industrial revolution saw an increase in the size of cities and increase in the pace and quantity of constructions. Now let us discuss the building material in the 18th century. The major big breakthrough in this period were the use of iron, both cast and wrought iron. Experiments were made mixing lime and with other materials to provide the hydraulic motor. Brick production itself changed a little. Now use of iron columns were common during this period. So this was just before the industrial revolution. There was the increase in the size of cities. Many people migrated to the cities in search of jobs to increase their standard of living. So during this century, the architect and engineer became increasingly professionalized and more sophisticated construction were possible. After this, our next topic is construction in the 19th century, Industrial Revolution. So the Industrial Revolution manifested a new kind of transportation installations such as railways, canals, and macadam roads. So it is during this century advancement of railways, canals, and macadam roads were established. New construction devices included steam engines, machine tools, explosive and optical surveying. Let us discuss the topic building material and method adopted in the construction during 19th century. As steel was mass produced from the mid 19th century, it was used in the form of I-beams and reinforced concrete. What is reinforced concrete? It is an amalgam of concrete and steel. So reinforced concrete has both the features of concrete and steel. Concrete gives it durability and steel gives tensile property. Glass panes also went into mass production and changed from a luxury to every man's property. Plumbing appeared and gave common access to drinking water and sewage collection. Advancement in plumbing made sure that there is drinking water to the common people. Building codes have established during this century with a special respect to fire safety. Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus, which was formerly known as Victoria Terminus, is an outstanding example of late 19th century railway architecture. So 19th सेंचुरी कंस्ट्रक्शन में हम लोग देखा कि कैसे रेलवे का एडवांसमेंट हुआ, कैनाल्स बने, मैकेडम रोड्स बने. मैकेडम रोड्स मतलब क्या? मैकेडम रोड्स को हम लोग हिंदी में कच्चा रास्ता भी बोलते हैं. ठीक है. न्यू कंस्ट्रक्शन डिवाइसेस इंक्लूड स्टीम इंजिन्स, मशीन टूल्स, एक्सप्लोजिव एंड ऑप्टिकल सर्वेइंग. सो अब तक हमने देखा है कि न्यूलिथिक कंस्ट्रक्शन से लेकर कॉपर एज, आयरन एज, 17th सेंचुरी, 18th सेंचुरी और अब 19th सेंचुरी किस तरीके से हमारा कंस्ट्रक्शन का डेवलपमेंट हुआ है. और इसी सेंचुरी में हम लोगों ने रेनफोर्स कंक्रीट का डेवलपमेंट देखे हैं. ठीक है. अब इसका सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है, हम लोग आज मॉडर्न टाइम्स में कंस्ट्रक्शन में क्या सिग्निफिकेंस है, हम लोग ये नेक्स्ट टॉपिक में पढ़ेंगे. सो हमारा नेक्स्ट टॉपिक है, लास्ट टॉपिक, कंस्ट्रक्शन इन मॉडर्न टाइम्स. तो लास्ट टॉपिक है कंस्ट्रक्शन इन मॉडर्न टाइम्स. तो हम लोगों ने अब तक पढ़ा कि कैसे मटेरियल एंड मेथड ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्शन में एडवांसमेंट आए और हर एक एजेस से हमने कुछ ना कुछ प्रिंसिपल का यूज किया आने वाले टाइम के लिए. फॉर एग्जांपल 19th सेंचुरी में हम लोगों ने एक एग्जांपल लिया था रेनफोर्स्ड कंक्रीट का. आज हम देखते हैं कि हर एक रेसिडेंशियल बिल्डिंग, हर पब्लिक बिल्डिंग में रेनफोर्स कंक्रीट का यूज होता है. व्हाट इज रेनफोर्स कंक्रीट? यू मे हैव सीन कंक्रीट, उसमें हम लोग ऐड करते हैं स्टील बार्स. वैसे टाइप के कंक्रीट को हम लोग बोलते हैं रेनफोर्स कंक्रीट. तो आज मैक्सिमम बिल्डिंग्स जो बनती है वो रेनफोर्स कंक्रीट का यूज करके ही बनती है, स्पेशली इन इंडिया. ठीक है. आने वाले टाइम में रेनफोर्स कंक्रीट को रिप्लेस करेगा स्टील. राइट. आप लोगों ने देखे होंगे फॉर एग्जांपल बुर्ज खलीफा, इसमें मैक्सिमम यूज हुआ है स्टील स्ट्रक्चर्स का. सिमिलरली एम्पायर स्टेट बिल्डिंग, इसमें भी इसे भी हम लोग एक स्टील स्ट्रक्चर की कैटेगरी में पुट करेंगे. सो ये था हमारा टॉपिक कंस्ट्रक्शन इन मॉडर्न टाइम्स. उसके अलावा सेकंड पॉइंट क्या लिखा है, ट्रेड यूनियंस वेर फॉर्म टू प्रोटेक्ट कंस्ट्रक्शन वर्कर्स इंटरेस्ट. इन द एंड ऑफ द 20th century, ecology, energy conservation and sustainable development has become more important issue of the construction. स्पेशली ड्यूरिंग अर्ली 2000 सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट पे काफी फोकस किया गया है. राइट. सो दिस वाज द ब्रीफ हिस्ट्री ऑफ सिविल इंजीनियरिंग. आज का लेक्चर यहीं तक था. इन नेक्स्ट लेक्चर वी विल डिस्कस द रिमेनिंग पॉइंट ऑफ बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ सिविल इंजीनियरिंग. थैंक यू.